She had been bringing coffee for 3 years when enemy jets appeared on radar and every pilot was down. The base faced annihilation until Amanda Collins revealed who she really was, the daughter of legendary fighter ace Phantom Collins. Her 20-minute aerial battle would become the stuff of military legend. But Amanda's 847 hours of classified flight training weren't just numbers in a file. They represented skills inherited from a bloodline that had dominated the skies for generations. What General Marcus Bradley and the base personnel didn't understand was that some pilots are born with instincts that can't be taught, and that the most dangerous aces sometimes hide behind the most ordinary facades. As enemy aircraft closed in on Edwards Air Force Base, Amanda was about to demonstrate why Colonel Phantom Collins had been both feared and revered, and why his legacy lived on in ways the military had never officially acknowledged. From which city around the world are you watching today? If this story amazes you, please subscribe to Rising Life Stories and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. For 3 years, Amanda Collins had been the most invisible person at Edwards Air Force Base. Every morning at 0530 hours, she arrived to prepare coffee for the morning briefings, organize administrative paperwork, and clean the briefing rooms where America's most elite test pilots planned missions that pushed the boundaries of aviation technology. Collins, make sure the coffee's fresh for the 0630 briefing, General Marcus Bradley would say without looking up from his reports, treating Amanda like part of the furniture in his office. And get those mission reports filed before the Pentagon brass arrives. Amanda moved through the base with the quiet efficiency of someone who had learned to be functionally invisible. The pilots, ground crews, and administrative staff saw her as just another civilian contractor, helpful but unremarkable, the kind of support personnel that kept military operations running smoothly without ever drawing attention to themselves. But what none of the base personnel knew was that Amanda's presence at Edwards wasn't coincidental. She was the daughter of Colonel James Phantom Collins, one of the most legendary F-22 pilots in Air Force history, a man whose combat record included 47 confirmed kills and tactical innovations that had redefined air-to-air combat doctrine. Colonel Collins had died 3 years earlier in a classified test flight accident that had never been fully explained to the public. His death had ended one of the most distinguished aviation careers in military history, but it had also left behind a daughter who had inherited both his natural flying ability and his deep understanding of aerial combat tactics. Amanda's assignment to Edwards as an administrative assistant wasn't the career path that most people would have expected for the daughter of a legendary pilot, but her civilian status provided cover for something that the military couldn't officially acknowledge: classified flight training that had begun when she was 16 years old under her father's direct instruction. Most pilots learn to fly by following procedures. Colonel Collins had taught Amanda during countless hours of unofficial training at remote airfields across Nevada. But true aces understand that aerial combat requires instincts that can't be programmed into computers or taught through conventional instruction. Amanda's 847 hours of flight time had been accumulated through training that existed in no official records. Her father had used his security clearances and connections to provide her with access to aircraft and training opportunities that prepared her for flying challenges that surpassed anything taught at conventional flight schools. The morning that would change everything began like every other day at Edwards. Amanda arrived before dawn to prepare for the day's activities, setting up briefing rooms and organizing materials for test flights that would evaluate the next generation of American air superiority fighters. Collins, the Pentagon inspection team will be here at 0800, General Bradley announced during his morning review of the day's schedule. Make sure everything is perfect. We can't afford any administrative mistakes when they're evaluating our program effectiveness. Amanda nodded and went about her routine preparations, unaware that within hours her 3 years of invisible service would end in a demonstration of flying capability that would redefine how Edwards Air Force Base understood the relationship between heredity and aviation excellence. The first sign that the day would be extraordinary came when the base's early warning radar systems detected aircraft approaching Edwards at a high speed from an unexpected direction. The contacts appeared to be military fighters, but they weren't broadcasting the identification codes that would mark them as friendly forces. Base operations, This is radar control. We have multiple unidentified aircraft approaching from the northeast. Estimated arrival in 23 minutes. Request immediate scramble authorization. The emergency klaxon that began wailing across Edwards Air Force Base created the kind of controlled chaos that tested every aspect of military preparedness. Amanda watched from the administrative offices as pilots and ground crews rushed to prepare aircraft for what appeared to be the first hostile air attack on American soil in decades. All available pilots to ready stations, came the announcement over the base communication system. This is not a drill. Repeat. This is not a drill. Multiple hostile aircraft inbound, estimated arrival in 18 minutes. Amanda observed the scramble operations with the trained eye that her father had developed in her through years of studying aerial tactics and combat procedures. What she saw created immediate concern about Edwards's ability to respond effectively to the approaching threat. "Sir," reported Major Jennifer Hayes to General Bradley, "we have a critical problem with pilot availability. Our primary fighter squadron is deployed on training exercises in Nevada, and our backup pilots are grounded due to the food poisoning incident from yesterday's mess hall." The situation that Bradley faced represented every airbase commander's nightmare, an imminent attack with insufficient resources to mount an effective defense. Edwards Air Force Base housed some of the most advanced aircraft in the American arsenal, but sophisticated technology meant nothing without qualified pilots to operate it. "How many pilots do we have available for immediate deployment?" Bradley asked, already knowing that the answer would be inadequate for the threat they were facing. Major Hayes' response confirmed Bradley's fears. "Sir, we have 2 qualified F-22 pilots available, but one is recovering from a training injury and the other is a rookie with less than 50 hours in type. The approaching force appears to be 6 advanced fighters with capabilities that could overwhelm our limited response." Amanda continued organizing administrative materials while listening to the crisis briefing, her mind automatically calculating tactical options with the strategic thinking that her father had trained her to apply to aerial combat scenarios. The approaching enemy force had chosen their timing perfectly, exploiting a moment when Edwards's defenses were compromised by circumstances beyond the base's control. "Sir," reported the radar operator, "enemy aircraft are maintaining course and speed toward Edwards. Based on their approach vector and formation, this appears to be a coordinated attack designed to neutralize our test facilities and aircraft development programs." Bradley faced a decision that would determine whether Edwards Air Force Base survived the next 20 minutes. His options were limited to defending with inadequate pilot resources or evacuating personnel and accepting the destruction of billions of dollars in aircraft and research facilities. "Prepare all available aircraft for immediate launch," Bradley ordered, despite understanding that 2 pilots against 6 enemy fighters represented odds that conventional tactics couldn't overcome. "And initiate base evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel." As base personnel began implementing emergency protocols, Amanda made a decision that would reveal capabilities she had kept hidden for 3 years. Rather than evacuating with other civilian personnel, she approached General Bradley with information that would change everything. "Sir," Amanda said, approaching Bradley during the crisis briefing, "I have information that might be relevant to our current tactical situation." Bradley's response reflected his irritation with civilian interference during a military emergency. "Collins, this isn't the time for administrative questions. Report to the evacuation assembly area immediately." Amanda's next words would transform the base's understanding of both her identity and their tactical options. "Sir, I'm qualified to pilot F-22 aircraft, and I believe I can provide effective support against the approaching enemy force." The silence that followed Amanda's statement reflected the impossibility of what she had just claimed. The idea that a civilian administrative assistant possessed qualifications to fly the most advanced fighter aircraft in the American arsenal challenged every assumption about military security and personnel management. "Collins," Bradley said with barely controlled anger, "this is not the time for jokes or fantasies. Women can't fly fighter jets, and civilian contractors certainly don't have access to classified aircraft systems." Amanda's response to General Bradley's dismissal carried the quiet authority of someone who understood exactly what she was claiming and why it mattered. "Sir, I am the daughter of Colonel James Phantom Collins. I have 847 hours of flight time in F-22 aircraft under his direct instruction, and I am qualified to engage enemy fighters in aerial combat." The mention of Colonel Collins's name created immediate silence in the briefing room. Every pilot and officer at Edwards knew the legend of Phantom Collins, his combat record, his tactical innovations, and his mysterious death during classified testing operations 3 years earlier. "Ma'am," Major Hayes said with confusion that reflected everyone's inability to process Amanda's claim. "Colonel Collins never mentioned having a daughter with pilot qualifications. There are no records of civilian flight training in F-22 aircraft." Amanda understood that her father's training program had been designed to remain invisible for exactly this type of situation. "Major, my training was conducted through classified programs that don't appear in conventional military records. My father believed that some capabilities needed to be maintained outside official channels." Bradley faced a decision that tested everything he believed about military protocol and operational security. The approaching enemy aircraft would arrive in less than 15 minutes. His conventional pilot resources were inadequate, and the woman he had dismissed as an administrative assistant was claiming qualifications that could provide the tactical advantage they desperately needed. "Collins, even if what you're claiming is true, there are no protocols for authorizing civilian pilots to engage in combat operations. The security clearances alone would require weeks of verification." Amanda's response revealed understanding of military necessity that superseded bureaucratic procedures. "Sir, security clearances won't matter if the base is destroyed in the next 15 minutes. I can provide immediate pilot capability that might save American lives and protect national security assets." The radar operator's update emphasized the urgency of their situation. "Sir, enemy aircraft are 12 minutes out and maintaining attack formation. We need immediate tactical response or we should complete base evacuation." Bradley's decision to allow Amanda access to F-22 aircraft represented either the desperate gamble of a commander with no alternatives or recognition that extraordinary circumstances required extraordinary solutions. "Collins, if you're lying about your qualifications, you'll be court-martialed and imprisoned. If you're telling the truth, you might save this base." Amanda's movement toward the aircraft hangars demonstrated familiarity with Edwards's layout that reflected more than 3 years of administrative work. Her understanding of base security procedures, aircraft locations, and support systems suggested knowledge that could only come from extensive unofficial access to restricted areas. "Ma'am," called Chief Master Sergeant Rodriguez as Amanda approached the F-22 flight line. "You need authorization codes and safety clearances before accessing those aircraft. These are $150 million fighters, not training simulators." Amanda's response included authorization codes that she shouldn't have possessed and technical knowledge that civilian contractors couldn't have acquired through normal channels. "Sergeant, authorization Phantom 77 Delta. I'm cleared for immediate tactical deployment under emergency combat protocols." The codes that Amanda provided were legitimate and current, indicating access to classification levels that required the highest security clearances. Rodriguez's verification confirmed that Amanda possessed authorizations that normally took years to acquire and could only be granted to personnel with proven reliability and critical mission requirements. "Sir," Rodriguez reported to Bradley, "her codes check out. I don't understand how or why, but she has legitimate authorization for F-22 access and combat operations." Amanda's approach to the F-22 Raptor demonstrated familiarity with the aircraft that could only come from extensive hands-on experience. Her pre-flight procedures, system checks, and cockpit setup revealed technical knowledge that surpassed what many official pilots possessed after months of conventional training. "Base operations, this is Phantom 7, Amanda transmitted, using her father's call sign designation as she prepared for takeoff. "Requesting immediate tactical launch authorization and target information for incoming hostile aircraft." The call sign, Phantom 7, carried historical significance that resonated throughout Edwards Air Force Base. Colonel Collins had used Phantom 6 during his legendary combat career, and hearing the continuation of that legacy through his daughter created understanding about capabilities that transcended official training programs. Phantom 7, you are cleared for immediate takeoff, Bradley transmitted, having made the decision to trust Amanda's claimed abilities over conventional protocol. 6 enemy fighters approaching from northeast, estimated time to target 8 minutes. Amanda's takeoff demonstrated flying skills that immediately validated her father's training program. Her aircraft handling, tactical positioning, and system management revealed competence that placed her among the most capable pilots Edwards had ever deployed, despite her complete absence from official training records. Base operations, Phantom 7 is airborne and acquiring targets, beginning engagement sequence against hostile aircraft formation. The aerial combat that followed would redefine Edwards Air Force Base's understanding of inherited capability and natural flying ability. Amanda's tactical approach to the 6 aircraft enemy formation demonstrated strategic thinking and combat instincts that exceeded anything taught through conventional pilot training. Her first engagement eliminated 2 enemy aircraft through maneuvers that combined her father's innovative tactics with her own adaptations to modern aerial combat systems. The precision and timing of her attacks suggested combat experience that shouldn't have existed, but clearly had been developed through years of unofficial preparation. Phantom 7, outstanding work, Bradley transmitted as Amanda's initial success became apparent on radar displays. Continue engagement and eliminate remaining threats. Amanda's systematic elimination of the remaining 4 enemy aircraft demonstrated flying capabilities that bordered on supernatural. Her aerial maneuvers, weapons employment, and tactical decisions revealed mastery of F-22 systems that typically required years of official training to develop. The entire engagement lasted less than 20 minutes, during which Amanda single-handedly eliminated threats that would have challenged an entire squadron of conventional pilots. Her performance validated every claim about her father's legendary abilities, while proving that some military capabilities could be inherited and developed outside official channels. Amanda's return to Edwards Air Force Base created a transformation in how base personnel understood the relationship between official qualifications and actual capability. Her landing demonstrated the same exceptional flying skills that had characterized her combat performance, confirming that her abilities represented permanent competence rather than temporary success. Phantom 7, outstanding mission completion, Bradley transmitted as Amanda taxied her F-22 toward the debriefing area. Your performance exceeded anything we could have expected from our most experienced pilots. The debriefing that followed Amanda's mission revealed the extent of her father's unofficial training program and the depth of knowledge that he had transferred to his daughter through years of classified instruction. Her understanding of aerial combat theory, aircraft systems, and tactical procedures surpassed what many official pilots developed through conventional careers. "Ma'am," Major Hayes said during the tactical review, "your engagement techniques included maneuvers that aren't taught in current Air Force doctrine. Where did you learn those combat procedures?" Amanda's explanation revealed innovations that her father had developed through decades of combat experience and tactical experimentation. "Major, my father believed that official doctrine was a starting point for aerial combat, not a limitation. He taught me to adapt tactics to specific situations rather than following predetermined procedures." General Bradley's recognition of Amanda's capabilities led to immediate discussions about incorporating her skills into Edwards's official pilot program. Her demonstrated abilities represented exactly the kind of tactical advantage that modern air combat required, regardless of how those abilities had been acquired. "Collins," Bradley said, his tone reflecting complete revision of his previous dismissiveness, "the Air Force needs pilots with your capabilities. Would you consider transitioning from administrative work to official pilot status?" Amanda's response revealed understanding of the choice between continuing her father's legacy of unofficial excellence and accepting recognition through conventional military channels. Her decision would determine whether her abilities remained hidden or became part of Edwards' official tactical capabilities. 6 months later, Captain Amanda Collins was leading advanced tactical training programs at Edwards Air Force Base, teaching combat maneuvers that her father had developed through decades of innovation and that she had proven in actual combat against superior enemy forces. General Bradley's initial dismissal of women in combat aviation had been replaced by recognition that capability transcended gender, official training, and conventional expectations. Amanda's performance had demonstrated that the most valuable military assets sometimes developed outside traditional systems. The legacy of Phantom Collins continued through his daughter's official military service, proving that excellence could be inherited, developed, and revealed when circumstances demanded capabilities that conventional training couldn't provide. Edwards Air Force Base's tactical doctrine was enhanced by innovations that Amanda brought from her father's unofficial research, demonstrating how individual initiative and family legacy could contribute to national defense in ways that bureaucratic systems might never discover. At Rising Life Stories, we believe that true capability often develops in unexpected ways, and that the most critical contributions to national security sometimes come from people whose qualifications can't be measured through conventional evaluation. Where are you watching from today? If Amanda's story of hidden excellence and inherited legacy inspired you, please subscribe and share. Because there are guardians among us whose capabilities exceed our assumptions and whose contributions to security and defense remain unrecognized until the moment when their skills become essential.